You see, also, right, this is in Lepton as well. Now, this is where the 231 and 232 buses come down from the main road. Literally just about around where the little fish and chip shop is. So this is where Greaves' house. So that's the main road there. That's a little fish and chip shop, right? And that was a graphics place, which has now been taken over by someone else. And that's facing back down towards town. There's a bus there, right? So this is 2009. Now, this is the industrial... Oh, it's gone back to 2022 now. This is the industrial estate here, right? Now, they built this massive kitchens place and the Yorkshire bathroom place right here. This steads. Next to it is there's sort of like a big out. There's like an old house there and another one, right? Now, this... If you go back to 2009, right? Right? Oh, there's this sorrel wagon coming out of there. So this is the industrial estate, pretty much as it is now, right? Now, there was a sort of house here. Just here. And... it's a little bit like there's a place in Honley, a bike shop in Honley, which is sort of kind of similar style to it. Now, this house, it had this Braithwaite's building here. Now, you might not know, people might not think much to this, but I really liked this building. I thought this building was very... it's a period building of a certain era. It's like a 1960s, 1970s style building, right? And it had this Braithwaite writing on, okay? He was an electrician, and this was basically his offices. It wasn't an electrical shop where you'd go in, like, you know, in there. And it wasn't particularly a big building, but it was a building of a certain period and era. You know? And I actually really like that building. And there was actually a house attached to it. Now, I used to drive on this road all the time. Because I used to come in and out of the village into the shop. Right? Used to go to the shop in the village. So 2009 was around the time I was driving, right? Now, I would always look at this building when I come past it. It was one of the buildings that I like because of its period style. So I was aware of it. Now, there was never ever, I can guarantee you this, there was never ever any planning notice outside here, right? And then suddenly it just ended up like this. I mean, where is there's a little box building there, right? It's just gone, right? The whole thing's gone. There's a little electricity box there. In fact, that electricity box had been taken down. You would need certain permission, surely, for that to be removed. Because that was actually something there. You'd have to give notice for that because it's part of Powerbox. That's part of Powerbox grid. Right? In fact, I think it's still there, that box. It is. It's just all changed. Strangely enough, I don't know if the walls changed there or not. Right? I would have wanted to object to them changing this because I like this little building here. It is of a very specific style. There aren't that many of these around, buildings like this in West Yorkshire, right? Now, I don't know why they need to do this massive kitchen place, right? Now, I'll know that there was another development to do with kitchens as well, and I'll go to that actually. Because it's actually over in where's Houses Hill? This is Murfield. Oh, right. Right, so these traffic lights here. Right, this is... Look, there's a massive new kitchen place here as well. And this happened around the same time. This kitchen place. Now, that was a carpet shop. And there's a security place here. And he's kind of got a weird, like, dummy guy in the wall there. Can you see that mannequin there? There's an actual shooting place. There was a security place. And he had like a strange mannequin of someone climbing up the wall as well. He says Yorkshire Shooting Theatre. He's got a weird dummy, right, on the roof here, look. That's odd. Now, when I used to go past, he actually had a different mannequin doll. He actually had... Oh, it was attached to the side of the wall, like some sort of robber or thief climbing up the wall. That's what he had. But it's actually changed now. You might actually be able to see it. Let's go back through the dates and see if we can find it. It's not there. I think that's when it was a carpet shop. So can you see here it's the Bridge carpet shop, right? So it's actually quite a nice building. So it's this Bridge carpet shop here, which was quite a long established sort of furniture shop, right? There on the corner, right? Now at that time, this had not turned... Oh, there it is, look. There, you can see I'm not making it up, I'm telling the truth. Look, there you go. I wouldn't lie to you. There is, look, a character. He's got a mannequin character on a ladder climbing up, right? And there's a security camera up there. So that's to do with the security place. And that security place was only in there, like a small sort of place. And this carpet shop, it's quite a nice building, this carpet shop. Now, like I said, when we come to go forward now, so now it's a kitchen place, I beg your pardon. Now it's this kitchen place. So we've got these big companies taking over these big... It's German kitchens. Now, I take note of that because I had one of my favourite videos that I watch on the computer. It actually features... It's got someone's kitchen in it, but it's only a small, modest kitchen, right? And there was... I noticed when I was talking and going online and stuff, I noticed sort of commentary about it, right? So then we get these big companies, these big German kitchen companies just popped up, right? And that's when we get this, like we were on before, when we go back to talking about this Greaves House Terrace, Hold on a second. Right, where's this Greaves House Terrace now? Is this it here? Right, Greaves House Terrace, right? So when we get onto this issue of this Braithwaite's, right? So that's around the time this kitchen place popped up as well. But this is meant to be Steads. Now, the thing is with the Steads, I don't know if it's anything to do with the Steads who were near the Hare and Hounds pub. There are some Steads who live near the Hare and Hounds pub at Upper Hopton, which is near that Blacksmith Arms. And they're connected to doing roadworks, right? I don't know if they're also connected to Moxon as well. Because I used to go out with a farmer's daughter, and they used to do some work with Steads because they used to have connection to vehicles for when you do like roadworks and diggers and things like that, and they knocked around with a bit of contracting work for farmers as well, right? I don't know if it's that Stead or a different Stead. Because that land is right next to the house where the barn got knocked down, the really nice barn when you come into West Yorkshire, past the Hare and Hounds, right? So there's a connection there. And it's only around the corner from the Freemasons Arms that got bought and turned into apartments. So there's a lot of things getting bought and changed on and around there, on and around the near Steads and the Blacksmith's Arms, and it's where that big mansion got built with the gargoyles overlooking Castle Hill. It's all tied in together. And that German kitchen place, right, was only just down the road. And then this here, right? And that Braithwaite's place, I'm sure I had some photographs of that, right, on my phone, because I liked it, because it was a period place. I could show you a place in Honley that's sort of similar, but I might have to stop recording and pause it. Hold on a second. So this is the Honley Cycles, right? So this is Honley Cycles. It's a place in Honley, and this is one of the places where the bus goes past, one of the main buses to Home Firth, right? So you do see it. Now, the style of this Honley Cycles, it's only an attachment to his house. It's only a little small shop, but it's kind of old-fashioned. But it's not old-fashioned in the sense of cottages, you know, like vintage cottages. It is still of a period. When you get period design, period style, right? It's very much like, I mean, it's just it's only a small shop, but it's still got the original writing, old-fashioned writing, and it's like a vintage style, right? And a little entrance. Now he has got new he has got new flags on there on the road, and on the house, if that's his house, I don't know if that's his house or not. He has got a modern gateway there, but the actual bike shop, right? I mean, he must like the traditional writing because he's kept it on there. He's kept it on there, right? And I don't even want to mention it because every time I mention somewhere now, something seems to be happening to them, to the places. So that is, I would class that as similar to what that Braithwaite's building was. It was a period place, and I think it's got a value to it because it creates an atmosphere and a style and memories of a period, right? You know, this guy clearly sees the value in that, or he wouldn't still have that sign up. He would have chucked it. He clearly has some sort of sense of period. Now he's got a security thing there for security purposes, but he's still got an old-fashioned door, right? And even though he's got new flags, so but so there is a value to a period style, right? And this guy clearly has at least some sense of value and worth in it to retain it, because there aren't really that many places that are even of that style in Huddersfield anymore, right? You won't find many places, right, that even have that writing on, or a shop that are still like that. I mean, I'll show you another place, for example, right? Hold on a minute. And I don't really want to give out these examples because they're all disappearing whenever I start mentioning them, as if someone's, like that sniper dummy on top of that roof I just showed you, as if someone's picking them all off. Now, this is actually not that far from that cycle shop. When you go back through Honley Village, which actually Honley Village itself has got... Right, memory card filled up then, so I'll have to edit this bit onto it to add them together. So, this is not far from that Honley cycle shop, right? And Honley itself... It's very, very lucky that Honley Village has got some side streets with cobbles and little cottages and things like that on them. And whoever's in charge of Honley Village has actually acted to preserve Honley. And that's actually the area where that cycle shop is. So people care in the Honley area. Now, this is the main bus stop that most of the Home Firth buses come past. And there's actually a bench there. There's even an actual bench, right? There's an actual bench here. Look at that. There aren't many places where you'd actually find a bench like that, wooden, actually in the proper vintage paintwork style, right? And actually preserved, right? You're at a bus stop where someone cares about nice, traditional and vintage things, like in a lot of villages down south, because Honley Village itself is preserved. Then there's that cycle shop where, even though he's on his own house, he's got like a modern gate round it, but in his shop, it's not ridiculously massive, and he's retained some style to it. Now, when you get to, even though that's a really modern petrol station, now this land, when you're waiting at this bus stop here, is absolutely invaluable. There's a tree here, right? When you look over the wall, and there's this beautiful entrance here, and you go, when you look into it, it's just an amazing piece of land that has beauty and value. And on here, this field here, I dare not mention these places, because when I start to point these places out, someone starts picking them off. And I don't know how it's possible. This field, just the style of the field and the position of it when you're here. I mean, through this particular Google car camera, it doesn't give it its full beauty, but it's a beautiful place. Now, this agriculture place, right, it sells various agriculture products, right, but the actual bit of land in the field there to look at when you're at the bus stop is invaluable. And the actual old shop bit they've got attached to this land, right, that is, I mean, if you go somewhere in Lincolnshire or Louth or somewhere out in the countryside towards, once you get out towards Boston and Lincoln and places like that, you actually find a lot of buildings like this. It's more agricultural, particularly in Norfolk and places like that, right? But in Huddersfield, because there's not that much building out in Norfolk, they're still doing agriculture and they're still doing farming, right? Particularly, actually, when you're going out on the road toward King's Lynn that way, there's a lot of farming places, and they've still got a lot of the vintage. They have vintage tractors out on display, and they actually do them all up. Now, to some people, if you're a person who is in Huddersfield Town Centre and you're into architecture, you probably, would spit on this place, right? But the rustic and the vintage style of this yard, there are some people who have a high value on it. But to a developer, there's no value to it to him. He can't have anything out of it until it's in his wallet. He doesn't have a value in his eyeball sockets for it. If he's going to have a value to it, he needs to somehow be able to make pound notes appear in his pocket, and he's not really bothered about that place. It's when he drives past it, the value doesn't register in his eyeball sockets. It doesn't say, wow, I like the look of this, because there aren't many places left with the vintage shop decor on anymore, which is like what that Braithwaite's place was like, and like the Honley Bike Shop, right? And people here on the council, at least in Honley Council, seem to mirror that in the street furniture, right? But other areas of Huddersfield don't. So it must be something to do with the people of a certain area and the councillors. But I think that there is, you see, and also, funnily enough, there's a council depot here as well, where a lot of the council operate from, right? Who happen to go off and scoot around. But, so going back to Lepton again, I was very, very disappointed about the loss of this Braithwaite building, because that is a very, very unique period style, right? That Braithwaite building. And to be honest, it shouldn't be messed around with when it's attached to an electricity pylon building anyway. Now, there was never, ever any planning notice, and I don't know where you fasten it to anyway, because if you fasten it to that lamppost there, that would be for the industrial estate, right? There's no lamppost here. To be honest, there aren't any posts, right? I don't think that it had a planning notice on it, because I would have seen it and I would have put an objection in. I think they've cheated the planning on this. And the thing is, right, is it the Braithwaite people who had that house? I'd be interested to know, because I haven't even done any investigation on this yet. I'm just noting this as part of the rest of it, as another thing to note, right? Which is a long video for notation, but it needs to be said, and it needs to be noted by the council, right? As Braithwaite sold out and sold the house and moved away somewhere else, or as someone bought the property off them, I mean, I never even saw a for sale sign. Where's Stead come into it? I think they're sharing the property. There's two different businesses in there. Why is there this sudden explosion of kitchen places? And in fact, we're meant to be cutting down on food. We already know that people are overeating and it's actually causing cancer, right? There are more and more takeaways getting built, like McDonald's and KFC, so you don't need to use your kitchen. Yet, these massive kitchen places are popping up to get people to overdo the kitchens, right? And this is what's causing all the health problems. Why they need a kitchen place here when they already put a huge kitchen place down at Bradley traffic lights? Is there some connection? And my final point is going to be, right, I want to know the people who did this building, the people who developed it. Is there a connection to the people who developed that German kitchens place at Bradley traffic lights? Is there any investment money that is connected to it? And is it connected to BlackRock and Vanguard people? who we know now own and control pretty much everything. Because if it is, then I believe that there has been strings pulled through the groups to do it. And why was it another building that was on my list of places that I liked while I was doing the campaign, the illegal road signage investigation, and I'm finding all the places that I like are getting attacked? Like the John Cotton's land, the Yorkshire Water John Cotton's land, which he built onto. It's almost like there's some sort of Manchester United who are kicking, who are teaming up. It's like some sort of dream team of building and development. And I think that's what it is. It's not football. It's the equivalent of a team, like in football, but it's in building and development instead of football. Because, I mean, if you look at the Freemasons' Arms at Upton, you've got a football guy there. It was meant to be a football guy who got that mansion built, right? So you got football people, and it's opposite steads. Now, I don't know if it's the same stead or different steads, but we can find out, right? It's almost as if, instead of kicking a ball around and getting into a net, once you are a person who happens to be on the opposing side of any given group, let's say it's the group who is literally just opposing what you're doing because they don't like it. For example, you're disclosing illegal road signage or planning corruption. So what they do is they go and rubber tackle you, right? What they do is they go and take out the things that you like just to pee on your bonfire. Basically, without swearing or being crude, basically to pee on your bonfire, right? Because in chess, it's not only about, getting to the other side of the board. You actually take the opponent's pieces away to win the game, right? So to beat people or to, if someone is acting in a way that's contravening, what your own objectives are, like in war, the objective is not just to, get control of one area or another area, or do this objective or that objective. They actually got to, blow up the opposition's base here, and then they've got to, take control of the base there, or do this objective. It's literally like a warboard, right? Now, if I was just Joe Bloggs, and if I was just pottering around doing nothing, and all these things started happening, I wouldn't be suspicious. But why is it when I start doing a really important, serious campaign, gathering evidence against local councils, contractors, the police, and other things in a very serious matter, putting out illegal road signage, when I actually prove a lot of it and get them to correct it, the back of many signs that are supposed to have dates on them so you can identify them, regulations on the back of them, don't have. And a lot of them seem dressed up and made to look vintage when they can't possibly have been. And the sun's faded on them when they can't possibly have been faded because you put them out in pairs and sets. And I've had statements from staff who say when they buy them, they have to put them out in sets and things like that. Why is it that, we start getting strange events where photographs I've got of my computer, photographs on my computer that I've got on my computer of things I like. I take a photo of this building, I like it. A photo of that one, I like it. Why is it that the next thing, that building suddenly gets bought and sold and done up? But not only that, it's actually done in a way so I don't even get a chance to object against it. And this is the main critical point. It's almost as if they want me not to see it. You didn't see that one coming. You didn't see that. It's almost as if they can get it past me without seeing it. They've even got one up on me then. It's like, you didn't see it, right? It's like, I couldn't have possibly objected to it if I didn't see it. If I see it, I can put an objection in, right? If there's no notice up, then it passes, so you can't object. Then they just go and do it, and then boom, it's done. And like, well, where did that come from? It's almost like running with a rugby ball, and someone comes up behind you and dives on you from out of nowhere and tackles you down. And you couldn't have done anything about it because it was a surprise attack, a surprise tackle. Boom, straight down. Whereas if you see him coming towards you to tackle you, you can take action to evade it. It's almost like there's a building and planning dream team, right? That is almost like a rugby team. And if they played by the rules and played fairly, so you could object properly in time, you could stop them and it would be a fair game. But it's almost like we've got the council's meant to be the referee, where someone puts in a planning application in, you object to it, right? And you get a fair game. If there's no application there, or if they don't put the planning notice there, that's a referee call, referee whistle. It means they broke a rule. In football, if you tackle someone, like the Italians were notoriously known for, mainly foreign, dirty tackles, the English were supposed to be clean playing in football. They were meant to be the clean players, England. In all World Cups when I've grown up, it's meant to be England that were meant to be the ones who followed the rules. That's why we used to lose, because we were good and we obeyed the rules. And it used to be the foreign teams who did the dirty tackles. But yet, when it comes to the roadworks, when it comes to road signs, and when it comes to building and planning, it actually turns out that we seem to have a dirty, cheating, lying culture who aren't playing by the rules because they don't really want to lose. And I think a lot of it is through the television. The television. Oh, do this up, do that up, buy this kitchen, do your garden up, sell, bigger. It's all to do with Simon Cowell, Sharon Osbourne, bigger swimming pools, bigger houses, getting the kids to want it, come to McDonald's, buy this, right? That's what's behind it. This big sales pitch. And even in the TV programmes, when someone does something a bit cheeky or naughty, they've got this music that they play, this sort of cheeky music. It's like, almost like the cheeky whistle music, or it's like they've got a little cheeky tune that they play, right? As if, it's almost like, as the doggy done a poo-poo on the carpet and it looks shamefully sort of type thing. It's almost like a excuse, or someone's been naughty or cheeky, or, it's not really a big deal type music. And it's that sort of thinking that is behind this sneaky planning noise culture. We're sneaking it. It's happening on Firth when they went and pulled down the stairs outside Sid's Cafe. And it was even the Last in the Summer Wine Tour place that did it. Put a ramp in. Why don't they just build a ramp up and over the stairs? They could fold up or put down. Why ruin the actual steps? There is some sort of... The Sunning pub has done it. They put a gate up, it's higher than the regulations that they're allowed, blatantly. It's blatantly bigger than regulations permit. And there was no planning notice there. It can't have a planning regulation notice because we go past there every day. They didn't want to get permission and they weren't bothered. And I don't know why they're doing it. The guy across the road has he put the planning notice down the other street on his next door neighbour's house, not on the road that it's addressed to, so he can't see it. Why? Who is encouraging this cheating culture? This cheating? And then Boris was going to be the main player because he was going to, for the Tories, put the nail in the coffin and seal the deal by removing the right to object entirely. Until they're starting to say now that we're meant to have more say in the community on things. But yet, we're not seeing it manifest. We see more and more cheating. Why is the television pushing this British cheating culture? It happened at Castle Hill. We know they cheated at Castle Hill. It's almost like, you can't say, oh, it's a figment of your imagination. It doesn't exist. It clearly does exist without a shadow of a doubt, because right on the top of a major site, someone, namely Tandy's, went and built something bigger than what they'd applied for planning for, which is a very serious matter. But we're seeing that in other places, Overthorpe Road, on the Savile Estate, but the entire building got demolished. Another old one. And then, again, in Armonbury, there were no planning. I was catching the bus up to Armonbury all the time to go look around the village. And then the Bangladesh restaurant, which is in a very old building, no, it's not Wormwold Hall, it's near Wormwold Hall. There was a planning notice appeared there after the date to object had expired. The guy didn't have it outside the restaurant. He didn't want people to put an objection in. They're another Asian guy, like the Tandys, and it was an Asian guy over Thorpe Road. They're cheating the system. It's theft. They're actually, if you do not give the people the fair right to object to what's being done, it's theft. And to be honest, that's what happened at John Cotton's as well with that plot of land that was meant to be the public's land. A protected area defined on a map with a border. A protected area plot of land. But John Cotton's didn't like it because the gypsies used to park there. So he went and built on it. And the council didn't stop him. No one's stopping these people. And now it's getting to a point where we know they've done it because Tandy did it. Tandy partnership cheated. They did it. They went and did it. And now there's this little Dalton surgery doctors has appeared with a massive new extension on it, which it can't have been there for long. Yet on this one, it's appearing... It's claiming it was 2 years ago, but it can't have been 2 years ago. It's impossible. It's just on the road here. It can't have been 2 years ago. It's next to Tulsa Museum. Here. Now that is an old building. That's a listed building. And that is part of the whole part that's next to it with Tulsa Museum and the other old house, right? Yet that has at some point, and I go past there all the day and I like that building. That has appeared now like this. And it's all black. And I don't know why, but every other business now is painting their gates black. Even some of the cottages are dark grey or black. Now, when lots of people start painting their gates black and grey, where are they getting the idea from? It has to be television. The TV programmes are priming with it. Now, if the TV has got that power broadcasting to the whole country. It's influencing people. There's a law saying the council aren't allowed to publish something that influences the electors in voting in petitions. The TV are quite happily influencing people in what colour they should be painting the gates at the moment, because everyone's doing it in black and grey. Now, who are behind these programmes and who are behind the adverts, like when everyone started getting conservatories built in the 90s or 80s? Who owns everything? BlackRock and Vanguard Group, when we look at the investments, seem to own everything, and I've got the videos that actually have the evidence and prove it. They're the one pulling the strings. They don't seem to be doing it in their own villages and areas like down south. It's in areas where they want to come into and make money out of that area at a loss and detriment to the local people, because they're losing the vintage and local character, because someone who doesn't live in the area buys land or houses, builds something or changes something for a personal profit, and all that money gets taken out of the area, right? And then the area has been built up and ruined. There is no asset or benefit to the local people. And then there's more and more people moving in. For example, when you're building yuppie houses, in fact, the best thing the Tories can do is get hold of land, build Tory houses for Tory voters to move in, because no one else can afford them except Tory voters. And then what they're creating is, they're creating a Tory voting area, or converting an area from Labour voters into Tory ones, because that ward then, that maybe was primarily Liberal or Labour, suddenly has an increase in residents who are moving into the area who are Tories, and then they will end up being Tory. You see, this is why what is Taylor Hawkins doing in Dalton? Because Taylor Hawkins is meant to be Labour, right? But yet, now they're saying there's no difference between Conservative and Labour. There's no difference between Keir Starmer and the Tory party. Does Taylor Hawkins really want to transform all his Labour voters into Tories and then finally himself to become a Tory? Does Tyler Hawkins really want to be a Tory and convert all his voters into Tories? Or is he, meant to be for Labour? And really, Labour working class aren't meant to be obsessed with excess and greed. Like, watching, Simon Cowell and Sharon Osbourne and Tom Jones in massive mansions with huge swimming pools, singing the next X Factor or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or whatever, persuading people to chase the money or chase bigger things. There are villages like in Honley, in Farnley Tyres, in other places where people are content with a normal sized building. Now, if people, the whole point in protecting something is because if it's old and vintage, that's why we have building protection and regulations. If we didn't, it wouldn't exist. We have regulations. The whole point in it existing, that there actually is something to protect a building because it's old or of a certain style, is to protect it. It exists to protect it. If it wasn't protecting it, there would be no point having it. You shouldn't even really need to object to something where there's a protection, because the protection is supposed to act on your behalf anyway. It's pre-protected. The entire point of pre-protection is we've protected it so you don't have to, right? If there is no protection on it, or if it's not listed, then by normal process, somebody puts an application in and then you object to it because you need to. If it's already protected beforehand, why would you need to object? It's almost now as if it doesn't really exist. What's the point in the protection if it's not working? It doesn't seem to be doing its job. It's almost like it doesn't exist. It's just something you say. It's there to protect it so we don't have to. It's protected so we don't have to act to protect it. That is the point. It's an entire point. Why we have to act to object to buildings that aren't protected is because they're not protected. So why would you have to bother acting to protect it if it's already protected? Unless it's not working properly. Now, I don't know what is going on with this building because I go past there all the time and it suddenly appeared like this, right? And I would notice that. Now, it's appeared very recently, yet on here, it's saying 2 years ago. And on the council website, it's saying an application was in 2 years ago, whether or not they built it then and there. And someone actually says that this wall has been hit a week or two ago in an incident, and there's been some building work. That doesn't look 2 years old. And in fact, those stones there in those square window bits, after 2 years, next to this road of the carbon from vehicles that go past, right, it would be a lot darker than that. Because I've been going to a skateboard park it's only been built for 2 years, and that has got dirty, particularly if people haven't been sweeping it, and you don't brush walls, right? So there's something strange going on with the computer system. And also, as for witnesses, most of the doctors have been shut down and not taking patients on site. A lot of appointments now have been over the telephone, only come into the surgery if you really need to, or go to a different surgery, right? There's been a massive reduction in people going to surgeries on site, and they get different doctors in on rotas who don't necessarily always work in certain surgeries, or haven't even been to another surgery before. They have a rota of different doctors, so I am very suspicious about what is, and also this crossing here, I drive on this road all the time, right? And when this crossing appeared, that crossing appeared from nowhere. There was no council notice saying we're fitting a crossing. There was no council notice saying there's going to be roadworks there. One day I was going on this road, there was nothing there, and then the next night I was coming back from out of town in Huddersfield on a Saturday night, and there was a crossing there. A set of traffic lights and an island in the middle of the road, and a crossing appeared from nowhere. No prior warning, no prior plans, right? Where had it appeared from? It appeared from nowhere. It was a mystery. Right? And that's what's happened here now. These buildings are part of the Tolson Museum, the trees and woodlands of the Tolson Museum, this house here on the corner, and this pavement here had some old flags. This pavement here had old flags, proper vintage square flags on, and I actually saw them doing that. I saw them doing the pavement. Right? It had old flags on. And there's another place even further down the road, the next junction on the corner, that's got some important trees. These trees here create a very important setting and cultural vintage setting for Tolson Museum and the history of the area. It's historic buildings. So there is something going on, and it's not just happening here. It's happening at other places as well. And I would be interested to know who is behind all the kitchen developments, the German kitchen developments and the Stead kitchen with that Braithwaite building, because there was no planning notice outside there either. It's cheating. There's nobody blowing the referee whistle. And the problem is the council, the council are actually trained to not be able to do anything about it and not want to, right? There's a woman called Katie Chu. I reported a planning notice in Home Firth. It wasn't there. And then suddenly it appeared. And when it appeared opposite Sid's Cafe for a hairdresser getting done, it had already expired the time. Yeah, I'd been catching the bus there every day and there was nothing there. Then suddenly a notice appears. The time's expired. Someone else doing it. If there's nothing there, and there's a time period, and there's no notice there, right? You don't know anything's going to be proposed. How can I take a photograph, or know to take a photograph, of no planning notice being there, when there's nothing there to alert me and give notice that I need to take a photo of there not being a notice there, right? Then once the time's elapsed and a notice appears, right, and I look at it and I say, well, that notice wasn't there. How can I go back in time and take a photograph of when the notice wasn't up, right, if I didn't know there was something proposed or planned? It's almost like a foolproof, fail-safe cheat. Because all the council are trained to do is, when you say to the council, they didn't put a planning notice up, right? They breached planning, right? All the council do is open the drawer or go on the computer and pull a notice out and say, well, it was issued on this date, and they pull a photograph out. Somebody took a photograph of it. One photograph on one day. It's not evidence of it not being there for the 3 months or whatever it's supposed to be, or however many weeks. It's not evidence of anything except it's evidence of someone taking a photograph of it for 1 second. That's what evidence is it of. And the council will not investigate it, mainly because it's impossible for them to gather evidence either, right? So how can anyone gather evidence unless CCTV's checked? Check the CCTV. What happens if there is no CCTV? Where the inspector's going out on regular basis to look at it and check it, right? And are the inspectors biased to one political party and affiliated to one political party that is pro-building? Is the inspector on a team, a Manchester United version of the Highways Department that really is playing for the builders, is pally with the builders, is mates with the contractors who have got the council contract and the old building industry? Not like the ones in Honley Village who seem to be pro-preservation. Oh, here's a wooden bench. Here is this, here is that. Unless they seem to be operating perfectly adequately for preserving Honley, but not when it comes to Dalton or Almondbury, which is now seeming to getting attacked. And that is where it ties into the Warriors' Tomb site and the Warriors' Tomb evidence of that ancient site being built on and spoiled, and all the other evidence with the ICI, which I've been investigating, which shows a bigger picture of opposition to the Liberal history and past there. And it seems to be increasing and getting worse now, not better. With this Dalton surgery now falling victim. And then we've got this Springhead funeral place popping up opposite as well. Someone's buying up places and affecting companies, pulling strings from behind the scenes. It's almost like a dream team, but it's not a dream, it's a nightmare. And they're actually zoning in and targeting specific local areas. And I think it's connected to the people who are responsible for the party and affiliation that's responsible for that Warriors' Tomb being built on. which is when the war broke out, when they started excavating Castle Hill as well, which is royal. And the same with the Earl Dartmouth building further along the road, because it's Earl Dartmouth and his peers who own businesses and companies in connection with BlackRock and Vanguard who have the power to pull these strings. They've even got power and possibility to go on Google Maps and change these dates and records. And they've probably even got the possibility and potential to go on the council computer and change records of when planning applications were approved and put in. If they really want to use warp drive power, not just impulse power of television suggestibility, or impulse power of adverts, or impulse power of telephone calls or text messages, there are all many manner and ways people doing it. We're talking about specific targeting, which, you know, if we go back to that picture in Murfield with that Dream Kitchens place, he's got a mannequin on the roof that I pointed out to you. He's got a guy on the roof pointing things out, a dummy. And in fact, when I first started that campaign, investigating the illegal road signage, I'll tell you another thing. On that dumb steeple at the Three Nuns roundabout, somebody put a dummy on that roundabout, a black dummy. Someone put a black mannequin dummy on that dumb steeple at the Three Nuns roundabout, which is the main motorway roundabout from Murfield, when you're going towards the other roundabout, actually at Junction 25. Someone put a black dummy on there right at the beginning when all of the whole thing to do with the investigation started. So there is something going on here. It's not nothing, and it's connected to the Tandys. The Tandys are part of it, and they are an example, because it's not just the Tandys. It's people who are influencing them behind the scenes through other means and mediums. Where did the stone disappear to? Oh, it's vanished. We don't know where it is. That's the same type of thing. The Tandy stone going missing and them breaking the planning rules is part of this. It's part of this that I'm talking about. It's part of this series of events. They're connected. Why are they connected? Because it's planning regulation breaches. But the police are not making connections between them. It's like if there's a series of robberies. If there's a series of robberies, you don't only look at it as one robbery then another robbery then another with no connection. You start to consider whether it might be some affiliated group of people or parties behind it. Right? Now, who might it be? When there is planning breaches, who are the builders? Who are the contractors? Who are the applicants? And this is what you do with the illegal road signage when you're investigating it for even Shropshire Council. Who is putting them out? It's a company called Cllr. Is it an independent company? I'll go to the offices. Big letters. Welcome to Shropshire Council. Highways Department. Oh, I'm at Shropshire Council. Highways Department. Oh, it happens to be also a company called Cllr. Oh, right. What else do they do? Oh, they work for Her Majesty's Government. They work for Her Majesty's Government, Department of Transport, Department, Highways England as well, on a separate contract. It's Cllr. Oh, I'll get them to do something about it. Oh, no, it's a separate contract. Well, it's the same company. Oh, just a minute. We've got some issues with Extinction Rebellion. They're knocking woodland down and building HS2. Oh, there's been some rules being broken and regulations. Oh, what's the company called? Oh, it's Cllr. Oh, that's funny. I've just been looking into a company called Cllr who broke planning regulations. And also, The police actually put some signs out there as well that were illegal, and also being sat there with a van enforcing speed limit on the road. Oh, and they've got an inspector as well. He's supposed to check the signs. Oh, that's an amazing coincidence. That's funny because they've been doing stuff illegally and I need to get someone to investigate it. Well, they're not going to. What coincidence? There's a network here. There's a network of companies and a network of people. Oh, just a minute. Oh, it's Care. Oh, hello, Care. How you doing? Oh, I'm off out to a meal tonight. Oh, are you going for a meal with my mate Bobski? Oh, what does he do? Oh, he owns Taylor Wimpey. Oh, what a coincidence. I've just been investigating some building where planning notices won't put up, and it's Taylor Wimpey. What a coincidence. Does he happen to be our friend and mate? Yes. Oh, wow. Unbelievable. There's a dream team if I ever saw one or not. It's a dream team. It is a team that is playing a game and not playing by the rules, and the referee that's meant to be there, the council inspectors and the police, he's not calling them out on it. He's not blowing the whistle. Or if he does, he only gets them to put it right again. But yeah, it continues and continues, happening again and again. He's not actually taking any legal action or saying that it was planned. Strategically planned and premeditated, which means it wasn't just a mistake like with the Tandys. Oh, Tandys planning regulation. Did they plan to do it? They must have done. You don't put plans in for a cafe and then build it 5 times as big without having some sort of plans to work for or an idea that you thought about beforehand of building a bigger one. It means you had to have planned it, premeditated it. So you went about by doing it under the pretense and claim that you were building something else, a smaller thing. You were defrauding the people who were put the objections in. You were deceiving the public, right? So it's giving a false record and accounts. So that's the problem. You know, it's, we're getting, someone put the Tandys up to it though. Someone talked them into it. Now, was it the council? Is it part of the old town centre redevelopment? They wanted the cafe to be on there to be part of the new swimming pool, the new health and wellbeing centre, the new cultural heart. This is the problem. But yet, many people complain out on the Facebook groups. But nothing seems to get done. And the council, it seems a guaranteed, anything the council proposes now seems guaranteed. But why is it Huddersfield where this money's flowing into? Oh, Huddersfield have had more money than any other council for development. They've also had more money than any other council to ruin the heritage and culture of the area. To completely strip out everything original and literally completely redo it so you can't recognise the place when you're finished. But other places haven't. Under the pretense that they're going to make it better. But for people who liked it as it was, it's not an improvement. In fact, it is a disaster. How is it and why is it possible that Honley Village is being and has been preserved and protected? And someone's going out of the way to even keep and maintain even vintage benches at bus stops. It's almost like that's the place where we're going to follow the rules, but in another area, we're not going to. We're going to cheat the rules. It's almost like that is what should have been happening to Armonbury. It's what should have been happening to Dalton. But it hasn't been. Only Honley. And again, I think it is to do with that Warriors Mound Ilford site and tied in to Edgewood Avenue being built on it, and tied into the old tram station getting built, and that Huddersfield, it's tied into Sam Copley when he went to Australia and came back with £3 million or whatever and bought all of Ramsden Estate under suspicious circumstances. If he wanted to buy it for himself, why did he sell it straight on to King George's government straight after? He didn't want it for himself. Why didn't the King George or the council just buy it from Ramsden? Why did it need Sam Copley, a middleman? It's actually ridiculous. What we need the councillors from Honley and the other places who actually know about protection and the value of protection, who clearly are acting to preserve and protect things, and we need those councillors to we need to know if those councillors, if they are actually truly do like vintage things, and we need to get them to find out what's happening around the rest of Huddersfield and why it's been happening. Unless they're the ones who've been, the decoys protecting their own area but not bothered about another area. There's something not right. We know it's not right because it happened at the Tandys. It happened. Something wasn't right, and it's widely known. Now, that's critical evidence that it's not a figment of the imagination. It's not figments of the imagination. Things are seriously not right. Things are seriously in question. And it's happened at Braithwaite's. It happened over Fort Road at Ravensthorpe and up at Upper Hopton. And now it's happening at Dalton outside the museum. We don't know where the next... It's almost like an attack, a strike. We don't know when the next place is going to be hit. It's like these cars hitting the walls. Someone's hit the wall looking out from Lepton, looking out over the beautiful view of Castle Hill. It's almost as if someone was jealous of that view or didn't like it, and they caused a car to crash into it. Or maybe they drove a car into it, or somebody paid them to, or maybe they hacked into a vehicle, which is clearly possible because I've got the entire website data on it, which says it's possible. But people, why would they do that? There are reasons why people might do it. It's an attack on heritage. Why is there a war going on in Russia? You might as well say, why are Russia attacking Ukraine? Why are they sending a military force in? It's not a figment of their imagination. It exists. It's a conflict. It's a war. That's what the Battle of Waterloo was, a conflict which, ended up getting named down in Dalton, ended up getting named after a conflict. There is a conflict going on, and it's partly to do with the heritage and history of the area, partly to do with political parties, but now it's to do with contractors and developers. They want the money. They want the jobs. They want the building work, and they want to make money out of it. And there's this obsession with bigger and bigger and bigger and more and more and more. And it's been pitched and sold to people through the television stations. And now those stations are like the BBC is going to be not publicly funded anymore. The BBC is wanting to sell it and take over by private adverts, which is going to be more private companies like Taylor Wimpey and Cllr paying for adverts, funding the channel, and they're going to be putting adverts on that channel, BBC and Channel 4, that are going to be encouraging people to buy, build more and more, bigger. So it's influencer marketing, and they're recruiting people to do it all the time, persuading people to do more and more and bigger. Because they want to make money out of it. Simon Cowell wants to make money out of it. Tom Jones wants to make money out of it. Sharon Osbourne wants to make money out of it. And they want you to agree with what they're doing, like it, press the like button, and help them by, not spending your money on objections, not petitioning against them. Sell your countryside cottages and knock them down, flatten them. Sell all the vintage things, demolish it, so, the building contractors can come in, have some work to do, make an absolute fortune, sell it to Tory voters, which is the only people who can afford it, and then it becomes Tory. It's literally like a Tory takeover of the planet, which they're facilitating now through the TV and broadcasting. And we're all being sold on it, queuing up to McDonald's and KFC, because they've got the monopoly money character. McDonald's is the best thing. It's for posh people. Oh, look, go drive around McDonald's and, you're buying posh food with gold-plated boxes. They're even using the Monopoly guy character to sell the food. It's meant to be posh and rich when it's not good food. People are ending up with diabetes and all sorts. It's the whole... You have to see the whole picture of what's going on. And there is some cheating going on, which is not make-believe. Tandy cheated. They also have admitted they cheated the planning regulations at that 4-0 one as well. I've seen more, and I've reported it to the council in Home Firth and other places, and the one at John Corns. So it's not imagination, but the council are not stopping it, mainly because they are on the campaign side of this more and more with the university. And they had Sir Patrick Stewart as an advocate, and then Prince Andrew as an advocate as well. They get celebrity advocates behind it. And there are people who laws are in place to protect and preserve things that pre-exist, that we've already got, that we don't want changing. We don't want making bigger. We don't want spoiling. And these laws and regulations are not working. And there's some cheating and hacking going on now, which is very difficult to prove other than witness statements. If the Tandys had managed to get away with building that cafe, for all we know, the plans, somebody might have ended up going on the internet and changing those plans after it had been done. So then no one could have said, oh, I don't know about it. That might have happened. But because it's quite a prominent place and there were some people savvy and watching out for what was going on, they managed to call them out on it and put a stop to it. There's not as many people looking out and watching for these things. Now, there are people haven't been going in to the doctors currently because our doctors isn't having appointments hardly. It's having a very low frequency of appointments, right? So it's a time when they can do it. They can manage to do it. And I like this building. I like looking at it and going past it. And something has happened to it recently. And it's claiming that it's 2 years ago. There's some sort of... There's an established technique and procedure that these people have got in place for cheating the system. They know when they can do it, how they can get away with it, and they've got a strategy for doing it. And making sure certain witnesses aren't there till it's too late. That's what's happening with the planning notices. If it's not there, you can't do anything about it. And then once that time's elapsed, they just go out and physically start doing it, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. It's almost like cheating you. So they want to actually make it so you didn't see it. And that comes back to like the whole thing with the Irish that's happening with the building projects. Because the way the Irish law's gone, and it's actually not the Irish's fault, it's all these big companies and developers who are established in other countries who are going into Ireland, when they've managed to get this law, so if it's over so much 400 homes, they automatically get permission. And it's near impossible to stop them. Near impossible. And if you want to enter an observation and make comment, to see, to observe, to make an observation, you're instantly charged. You're instantly fined €20. You're fined and charged €20 for having the privilege to observe, to make an observation. They're making you have to pay in your pocket, be fined and charged with a fine for observing, for having something to say about what they're doing. And the basis and principle of that is what we see with this. I haven't got my observation in. I haven't been able to make an observation. They've pulled the wool over his eyes. They've got fast one over on us. And they're making me out to be a blind man, to be stupid. I didn't see it. Something wrong with my eyes. I need my eyes testing. Right? And that ultimately is what this party, this affiliated group, want to do. It's like on the evidence for the other petition with that Yorkshire Hostel pointer. The Yorkshire Jewel Hostel pointer that's found with one eyeball missing out of it, found at Orton. He's been discredited as treasure. It's a lot. It's more than just buildings. It's actually the people of West Yorkshire who are being targeted because of us. Because we are the people of West Yorkshire of a certain heritage, of a certain history, who are not favoured by those in London. And I believe that is why Castle Hill and that Warriors Mum tomb site, the Liberty Hill, why those sites have been attacked. And it's ongoing since the Imperial Chemical Industries went in there. It's part of the same case. And now Earl Dartmouth wanting to build houses, and Armonbury School getting moved to Armonbury, and another beautiful area, that valley that I filmed the drone up, is near enough as soon as I filmed that drone going up that valley, then they're wanting to expand that school and lock all the streets down and put street furniture everywhere. It's the same principle. There's something not right going on. We're under attack of his heritage. And they've got most of the people into a state where they're either not bothered because they've got their own problems and they're more interested in buying the burgers and the KFC. They want to get the KFC and the burger. They want to get to Kingsgate and buy the product. Kingsgate. Who owns all those businesses in Kingsgate? The BlackRock Vanguard people. It's not bringing money to the area. It's extracting money. It's providing very cheap labour, very poorly paid jobs for local people, and it's extracting all our money, it's sucking money out of it up into the BlackRock Vanguard group. It's not making the area better. And what we're doing is we're getting the universities taking over the town and bringing more foreign students in at the same time. They're bringing in foreign students, they're extracting our money out and giving the local people very poor wages, they're eradicating us history, and the council love it. The council think that, and there's a lot of actual foreign councillors who aren't that really bothered about our history and heritage, they're more interested in now and getting fancy swimming pools and that built. this area is actually getting attacked. It's actually being attacked. It's a political war on our area. And the foolish people are the ones who accept the bribe from the government. Oh, here's a big treasure chest, Huddersfield. We're giving you £200 million to sell your soul. Sell the soul out of the town. Literally cut the heart out. It's like on Robin Hood when he says to Locke, so I'm going to cut you out with a spoon.
Richard, be quiet, please.
They're literally selling the soul of the town. The councillors and the architects, they've accepted the treasure chest and they've actually sold the soul of Huddersfield for all these promises of more and more and more and more. Yet other places have not accepted the bribe. They've not accepted the money. They knew they had a nice village. They knew they had nice vintage houses and places. And they didn't sell the souls to Satan for it. Because they knew what they had there. And we had ancient sites and heritage and culture here. But we got sold out. And ever since then, it's always the promise of more. Yet now they're saying, oh, redevelopment's going to be better. It's going to be better. Every time they're saying it's going to be better. But it was decent. Manchester is meant to be the place where there wasn't really anything there before. It's a brand new city. Leeds is a new place. Milton Keynes. They can build brand new places. I don't know why architects and why universities need to go to somewhere and steal its heritage and spoil its heritage. Why can't the universities do it in Leeds and in Manchester? Why do they have to come to somewhere that has got a very old ancient history and start pulling the buildings out like they're pulling teeth out and get sold out for? No, you don't want those teeth. Have some gold teeth instead. Literally, it's like getting your own teeth pulled out, and then because they're offering you diamond ones instead, or gold ones, when there was nothing wrong with the normal ones, the natural ones you had. It's the same analogy. There's something gone on with that building, because it wasn't like what it's appeared as now. There's something has happened to it strange, like what was happening to Castle Hill with that Tandy thing.